seconds, and you said that's a great idea. Tell us about it.
Well, it was an idea that we had that a lot of people suggested to me, frankly, a lot of great people of our country, largely Republicans. It was an amazing night because the Republicans went wild and the Democrats sat there, but they all respected Rush. And I think it was, one of the great honors of his life, Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's a big deal. And he was very honored by it, and he was a great gentleman. Just like Mark said, I listened to Mark, and, Mark is so terrific, but, he said he's special. And Rush was really special. He was a very special guy. You said irreplaceable, and it's true. He's irreplaceable.
I remember discussions that we would have. I'd often ask you, if you come on my radio show or on 600 stations, and you would always ask me about, why are radio numbers so massive? Rush had 21 million plus listeners, and you would always ask me about Rush, and I'd explain it to you, and you never, for a while, I don't think you comprehend, and I knew you knew radio, because you used to go on Howard Stern. You would come on my radio show years and years ago, and, but you were surprised that there wasn't this competitive thing going on. I kept telling you, there's no competition, there's nobody in his league.
Well, that's right. You did say that, and radio's big stuff, and he made it that way. He was the king, and by the way, congratulations, because I looked at some numbers. You do real well on radio, but you would be the first one to say, and he was there first, and he was a brilliant guy, just a totally brilliant guy, and he could do things that a lot of people couldn't do. He could just talk for 3 hours, no phone calls, no anything, just talk. And everybody found it spellbinding. So it was an honor to know him. I got to know him right after coming down the escalator with Melania. He was there right from the beginning. Like you were so great, and Rush was so great, and it was something very special to know him. Very, very terrific man.
There's a side of you that I know a lot of Americans don't know. And I know many people that this story holds true for. And I know in the case of Rush. And when Rush had his diagnosis a little over a year ago, I knew you were calling him regularly, minimum of once a month, often much more than that. And you would always be checking in with, how are you feeling? How are the treatments? How's everything going? And I know you talked to him a lot. What were those conversations like?
Well, it was interesting because I didn't know Rush at all, as you know. I didn't know him at all until I had gotten word that from somebody that Rush was with us all the way. He was, we have this guy who was so big on radio. I knew a lot about Rush, but I didn't know him. And he was with me all the way, and it was sort of incredible. I got to know him after that, and he was much different, actually. He was a very, very, I wouldn't say not outgoing, but he was very, very warm. He was just a very warm person. And when people got to know him, I loved playing golf with Rush. And I used to call him the Bull because he was actually a very strong guy, physically very strong guy. And he hit the ball a long way. When he hit it, he went a long way. And but you got to know him, and he loved this country, and he loved his wife because Catherine she was fantastic. The job she had this last period of time, which you know better than almost anybody. This last period of time was rough, very rough for him, very, very rough for him. So he really adored her.
It's interesting. On Rush's show today, I was listening before I began my radio program, and they played a segment of Rush, and in that segment he said, if you took tapes of him when he started in 1988 in syndication, again, nobody thought that anyone can syndicate during the daytime and be successful, and he proved all the naysayers wrong. And if you look at where he stood, conservative justices, liberty, freedom, less government intrusion, less regulation, less taxes, lower taxes, energy independence, secure borders, choice in schools, the Second Amendment, free and fair trade, peace through strength. Sound familiar? Because that's your agenda.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
He was right there. He understood it. He got it. And he's been that way for a long time. You know, he hasn't been somebody that's changed. He didn't go from being a liberal to being a conservative. I mean, he was there from the beginning, and he hasn't changed. His views haven't changed very much. And his audience, as you know better than probably anybody, the loyalty of his audience was just incredible. It was staggering. Nobody had seen anything like it. So he was just a very special guy, and he's going to be missed by you and by me and by, as you said, 21 million people, and I guess a lot more than that even. He'll be missed by a lot of people.
And millions, the most loyal audience, generations. Your own Kayleigh McEnany, I mentioned earlier, tweeted that, you know, she was a Rush baby. Her dad would be listening in the car, and it shaped her viewpoint to conservatism. And he did that for so many of us and so many around the country. I want to thank you. I appreciate you being on the program. I know I read your statement the other day, and I know you said in the months ahead you have a lot you want to tell us, and we won't do it tonight, obviously. But when that time comes, we're looking forward to hearing what your future plans are and what you are planning to do. I have a funny feeling we're going to hear a lot more from Donald Trump. Are my instincts correct?
Well, there's a lot to talk about, and our country is a great place, and we're going to make it even greater, as the expression goes. But we have a lot to talk about. But today's all about Rush, don't you think? And he, I don't know, what he left behind, and he'll never be forgotten. He's one of the people who will not be forgotten. Big impact. Great guy.
Mr. President, we always appreciate you being with us. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much, John.